W Moda is a large scale development coming to historic downtown Lake Worth Beach. They are not providing adequate parking, which has many people frustrated because there will be serious consequences for people trying to visit our downtown. This Tuesday, April 1st, the City Commission will be discussing its shared parking provision and how it impacts mixed use developments like W Moda. So it's worth understanding. So, what is shared parking for mixed use developments? How does the Lake Worth Beach shared parking provision favor developers over residents? And what should we do next? Shared parking is a way to try to balance the fact that nobody wants to live in a city that is all asphalt and parking lots with the fact that a large number of people still rely on cars and need a place to park. So, if one building is busy during the day and the other at night, why make them build two parking lots that are being used at different times if they can create fewer spots and still accommodate both their needs? I would love to use shared parking to reduce the demand for building more parking spaces, but that's not what's happening here in Lake Worth Beach. Currently, there is a shared parking provision that was written into the code during the Triolo administration. It is not an innovative solution to parking, but just another developer giveaway disguised as forward thinking. The city is using it to give any development with two or more uses a 25% reduction in their total parking requirement. It doesn't matter if the parking is actually being shared, if peak demand happens at the same time, or if it creates a situation where there's simply not enough parking for one of the buildings. The city has applied this reduction to both the Bohemian and the Mid. It has failed each time. Take a look at the Bohemian. The apartment complex is required to have 312 spaces for their tenants, but throw in a small restaurant and now the total project only needs 245? But don't worry, the tenants can pay extra to lease spaces from the city's part of the parking garage. The same thing for the Mid. Build a ton of apartments and add in a few live workspaces, and you can reduce your parking requirement. When the parking starts to overflow into the neighborhoods, just blame it on the developer's inability to manage their parking. The mayor and commissioners are fully aware of the problems that this has created, and they complain every chance they get. The same parking failure at the Bohemian and the Mid is about to happen with W Moda. So, why is the city giving W Moda the same parking reduction deal in the middle of our historic downtown? Especially considering that they aren't sharing any spaces. Their garage is only for their residents, and museum visitors will be using public parking. So, what should the commission do on Tuesday? They should update the code and require a case by case review of mixed use parking, not an automatic 25% cut. They should look at the individual needs for each use, the peak demand for each use, and the number of reserved spaces versus shared parking spaces. And they should not make the same mistake with W Moda, especially considering the negative impacts it will have to our downtown businesses when their customers have to compete with W Moda's residents for a place to park. And one final thought. If developers don't provide enough parking, they have to pay $25,000 per space into the community fund that helps solve future parking issues. By giving them the parking reduction, you are taking the responsibility off the developer and transferring it to the taxpayers who have to fund the parking solutions. And by allowing tenants to lease spaces from public parking garages because they weren't provided by the developer, you are taking the responsibility from the developer and passing it on to the tenant. This shared parking provision in its current form is nothing but a developer giveaway.